Oh, murder, that's you?
I'm me. I do what I want and I move how I want, cause I'm me. And I'm not gonna act like I'm anyone else, cause I'm me. The one that impressed you, the one that's the best, that's me. I'm me. I do what I want and I move how I want, cause I'm me. And I'm not gonna act like I'm anyone else, cause I'm me. The one that impressed you, the one that's the best, that's me. I'm me. Can't associate with no fools. I'm my own version of cool. I'm brave and I'm bold. All that hating is getting old. They know they can't compete. They know they ain't like me. I know that I'm worth it. I know I got a purpose. I'm me. I do what I want and I move how I want, cause I'm me. And I'm not gonna act like I'm anyone else, cause I'm me. The one that impressed you, the one that's the best, that's me.
You are now tuned in to Radical Radio.
I'm my own version of cool. All that hating is getting old. They know they ain't like me. I know that I'm worth it. I know I got a purpose. I'm me.
That's radical. Living unapologetically bold and purposely authentic.
Radical Radio presents Radical Talk with the Think Tank. What is radicalism? Radicalism is the beliefs or actions of individuals, groups, or organizations who advocate for thorough or complete social and or political reform to achieve an alternative vision of American society. Join us as we engage in conversations regarding radical changes to lifestyles as they relate to physical, mental, and social well-being in North Chicago, Illinois. And let us know if these changes can relate to your city too. Listen, join the founder of the North Chicago think tank, William Coleman, and the founder and host of the Radical Radio podcast for an also radical discussion. Let's go, y'all. What's good? Y'all already know what it is. It is Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock sharp. It's your girl, Coach L, and I have my brother, William Coleman, aka Billy Coleman, the founder and visionary of the North Chicago think tank. As you guys know, every other Wednesday we go live and we have Radical Talk with the North Chicago think tank. The Radical Talk that we are bringing to you all is basically what we are going to do to allow North Chicago and other cities to be a thriving, flourishing, and prospering community. How do we get there? What do we need to do? What do we want it to look like? You know, how do we want to see our communities thrive, flourish, and prosper? Again, I've said this before. We are focused on the North Chicago think tank and their initiative, but this goes for anyone. Anyone has the initiative to be able to put together a think tank for their own community and then take what we're talking about and apply it to their own community, because as brown and black people, we have more power than what we assume or what we put out there. We have more power than what we assume and what we put out there. So this is what Radical Talk with the North Chicago think tank is all about. What I'm going to do really quickly is just start with the initiative of the North Chicago think tank. And sorry, I had it up here. I'm sorry, y'all. The North Chicago think tank is a policy, research, reform, and advocacy focused project aimed at improving the quality of life for citizens of North Chicago, Illinois, by building and growing local power, creating spaces for Black imagination and innovation, and centering Black joy. Y'all already heard what I said, centering Black joy. That ought to make you excited. So before I get into this, first and foremost, I want Billy, can you share with them why it was important for you to have the vision to bring forth the North Chicago think tank?
Can you say that for me one more time? I'm sorry, I'm in Acapulco and my Wi-Fi went a little spotty.
That's all right, bro. As y'all know, he's a drifter, so he all over the place, y'all. He goes everywhere, right? He's in Acapulco right now. So the Wi-Fi might be a little choppy, but y'all, be patient with us. What was the notion? What was the reason why you became the visionary of the North Chicago think tank? What made you want to bring this vision to life? Did you hear me?
To be honest, yeah, I heard you. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, to be honest, it was just seeing a repetitive cycle of failures in the ability to create a quality life for our community members. That's what it was. I kept seeing programs come in, come out. I kept seeing leaders. I kept seeing ideas come in, come out, and there just was never a consistent, sustainable, high quality of life, at least in my perception. I can only speak from my perception and what I saw. But that's why I said it's time to feel empowered and stop thinking that we have to lean on me, and we have to start thinking with power and thinking for solutions and start to build those thoughts into actual physical solutions that we could employ into the city and start to improve the quality of life for our brothers and sisters.
Thank you for that. And, I asked that question because one thing that I noticed is that, when you first started with, bringing forth the North Chicago think tank, you are focused on North Chicago because you are from North Chicago, and you wanted to focus on things that you had questions about. So I come to y'all today. I'm sorry. I got to call out my fellow North Chicagoans, right? The reason I'm calling y'all out is because this is our brother, right? This is a guy that really holds dear and near to his heart, North Chicago. What I've seen from Billy is I've seen him uncover the fact that there's a clinic, a health clinic in North Chicago that I know I didn't know about, and I know many of you didn't know about. I've also watched him advocate for the rights of said beach in North Chicago. Why? Asking questions, asking pertinent questions. Why do we not have a beach? Why does Waukegan have a beach? Why does Zion have a beach? But what's wrong with North Chicago? Understanding that he wants to bring forth natural gardening and crops and to make sure that we have the ability, or that you have the ability in North Chicago to grow your own food. These are the things that I've seen, and I'm just calling out what I've seen, right? I know that that's so far from everything that he has already touched. He's gotten in contact with Rosalind Franklin University, and he's built relationships with them. He's built relationships with Mano y Mano. He's gone into meetings with the Lake County Health Department. He is a ever-present force in meetings and going to meetings and equipping himself with information so that he can roll it out to North Chicago, so that we have the information that we need to make said changes that we're talking about within this series. So I'm calling out the North Chicagoans because I don't understand why we got to get on a Facebook platform and we got to beg and plead and, ask questions and promote thoughts and things like that to get some response. If you live in North Chicago, and if you know William Coleman, if you know the work that this brother has put in, I need to see you, come in and join this conversation, because he's doing this work for his city. He's doing this work for his city. He's doing the research. And let me tell you why I'm passionate about his mission and what he's doing. It's not just him wanting to stand up and go out and be like, rah, we gotta do. And it's nothing wrong with that. But what he wants to do is he wants to research. He wants to get information first. He wants to sit down and have conversations and plan and strategize and be strategic in making said changes. Because see, oftentimes we'll say something and it feel real good and it sound real good. And you might have some people that'll jump on the bandwagon with you. Like, yeah, bro, that's dope. Yeah, sis, that's dope. But let's be honest, Black people, we're not the best at organizing. We're not always the best at communication. We're not always the best at strategizing. We're not always the best. And I can say that for myself. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like these are necessary conversations, and he's doing this for North Chicago. I would like to see more North Chicagoans come and have this discussion. When we ask questions like, what do you think about what he's saying? What do you think about this conversation? Do you think that we can put these types of changes in place for North Chicago? I would like to see some people from North Chicago let us know about what he's talking about, because it's real what he's talking about. So we can either stay in a comfortable position and be real cute and cushy, or we can get out of our comfort zone, because I'm just going to say it. It's time for Black people to step up. We be talking about we woke. We be talking about all that extra stuff, the stuff that's cute right now. It's cute to say you woke. That's cute. Everybody's saying they woke, but are you really woke? Being woke starts with the conversation first. So I just wanted to say that I love Lake County, period. I'm not from North Chicago, but I believe in everything that my brother is doing, because if he rolls it out in North Chicago, guess what? I'm from Waukegan, so we can roll it out in Waukegan too. And I believe in it. So I believe wholeheartedly in it. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox and we're gonna go ahead and get this thing cracking. Bro, did you have anything to add?
No, I just wanted to say that, I hope that dialogue can continue. I hope that throughout everything that we're going through since 2020, everything surrounding Black Lives Matter, everything surrounding COVID, everything surrounding everyone's growing awareness about what white supremacy does and how it functions. I just hope that the dialogue continues to grow. And if that means that we need to change the type of words that we're using or the spaces where we have these conversations, we should be willing to do that. But my main focus is solidarity. I need for us to just stand shoulder to shoulder and say, you know what, I might not understand you, and you might even frustrate me sometimes, but you are my brother. You are my sister. And so we're going to talk this out. We're going to talk this out in a way that makes sense so that we can get to a place where we're living high quality lives. I need to see my brothers and sisters thriving. I need to see my brothers and sisters not grinding, not surviving, flourishing. I need to see them prospering. And it doesn't give me any joy to make it for myself and then leave my brothers and sisters.
There you go.
That, I don't subscribe to that idea of success or that idea of growth. I think it should be where the community is growing together. Mm-hmm. And we're holding our hand out as each one of us go up, whether that's in access to resources or access to information or access to education or access to freedom. We hold a hand and we pull the next person up. And that happens over and over again until we start to see flourishing communities.
There you go. I love that. And that's what we're talking about. Like, just making sure that we're as one. We all want the same common goal. We all want better. We all want change. We all want to see things shift. So I think just having these conversations that we've been having over the last, couple of months has been absolutely amazing for me. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. Last week, we talked about savior complex. We had a very, very enlightened discussion on savior complex. This week, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about cognitive dissonance. For many of you, you may not know, what cognitive dissonance is, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to give you the definition first, and then we'll move into, our discussion questions.
Okay.
All right. I'm sorry. Thought I had it up.
I can read it. I have it up.
Okay, I thought you did. Go ahead.
So the term cognitive dissonance, and I want, if there's anybody watching that's like, oh man, they about to start using words that I don't know, I want you to learn to be comfortable in this space.
Yeah.
When someone is talking about something you don't know, I want you to feel empowered to say, I don't know what that is, but I'm about to learn, because that's how we grow. We have to get comfortable learning from one another. So cognitive dissonance is a mental discomfort. It's something that happens in your brain when there's two conflicting beliefs or values or attitudes. Somebody's saying one thing and somebody's saying something else, or you believe one thing and somebody's introducing something different, right? And we like to be consistent in our beliefs, right? In our attitudes. But as new information is brought up, it can challenge what you think. So if someone says the thing that you were doing yesterday is actually not correct for today, it can cause conflict in your brain. Yes. And that's what is cognitive dissonance. And today we're going to talk about that, because that happens a lot. That happens a lot to Black people. It happens a lot in North Chicago. And we may not have ever known the right word to use to describe what was happening to us. But our brains are very powerful, because you are a powerful being. You're a human. You're a Black human. You are extremely powerful. And when that happens in your brain, it does weird things. You're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to behave. This person is saying this, but my grandma told me that this was this. So who's telling the truth? Who's lying? What should I do? Should I change? And I really want to take this time today to talk about that in a comforting space, to say, this is what's been happening. And let's talk about some of the ways we can deal with it when it happens to us.
And let me tell y'all this, like, I knew what cognitive was. I didn't really know what it meant to put cognitive and dissonance together. So like Billy just said, when he sent it to me, I looked it up, and I said, oh, okay, I know what that is. And what's funny to me is this last week or so, I just been like looking at the ways that I've been conditioned, and I'm talking about me. And I've looked at the things that I have always thought were right. And I've looked at, like, now how in my mind, I'm always like, yeah, that ain't right, or that don't feel right. And I began to challenge things. And I don't know if you guys know, but that's where radical came from. In my brand and in my, that's why I speak everything radical, because I have come to a place where what I was conditioned in knowing or believing or thinking was correct. As I've grown and as my mind has shifted and as I've allowed myself to open up more, to learn more, I've challenged a lot. So this is a perfect segue. And I just believe in, divine connection of, when you're thinking of something and then now, boom, we're talking about it. Like, it's an important topic. It's important because we've been conditioned, and a lot of our conditioning didn't even come from our parents. Our parents were conditioned, right? So let's go ahead and get into it. First, let's talk about why this is something that we need to abstain from, or I guess that's the question. Is that the question? Is that the right type of question?
Yeah,
okay.
That is the type of question.
All right. So why do we need to abstain from cognitive dissonance?
So the reason why we need to abstain from cognitive dissonance is because three things happen to you when you start to experience cognitive dissonance. You either you want to get away from that discomfort, right? So somebody's telling you something and you like, whoa, that's mad different than what I thought it was, right? And there's three things that we kind of give ourselves an option when we feel that discomfort. We'll either reject the new information, or we'll explain it away, or we'll start to avoid new information, right? And that's really dangerous, because I want to go back to our ancestors coming to this country, right? Yes. When our ancestors were kidnapped and dragged to this country, they did not believe in cognitive dissonance. They fought for information. They were always reading, always trying. If you look at the history of braiding, always trying to share information, always trying to get new information, never feeling uncomfortable. But what happened to us as displaced Africans, we started to be threatened with violence and death for exploring new information, right? So we started to be trained that, like, they started to cut off our thumbs, they would cut out our tongues, they would do so many things to say, don't you learn any new information. You only listen to what I tell you.
Yes.
And what happened to us over time is that white supremacy, that white dominance has now just become second nature. To where we say, well, whatever is, it just is what it is. Instead of saying, can I follow some method for figuring out if what it is actually is true? And do I have sources and proof for that? And so when we talk about avoiding new information, you can see now that everything is fake news, right? Everybody is using that term. It's all fake news. You can't believe nobody. Just don't look at nothing. And what that does is it starts to tell you whatever you think is, that's what it is. And you could be wrong as a $3 bill. You could be as wrong as a 26 coin, a 26 cent coin. But people are starting to just avoid new information if it doesn't agree with what they already know. People are starting to just reject very important information. And that's dangerous. That's dangerous for you, because the only way you grow, the only way you truly understand this existence is to be curious. Your brain is curious, and that's how you feed your conscience. And your conscience tells you, you've learned this new information, and now I'm going to guide you on how to move forward throughout your life. But imagine what happens if you just rejected new information. Someone tells you yesterday you thought, I don't know, you thought Takis were good for you. But new information comes out and says Takis are not good for you. And someone could say, well, you know what, I'm too busy. I don't really care about all that, so I'm just going to keep eating my Takis. Well, okay, that's fine for you, but that's cognitive dissonance. That's you saying, I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to absorb it. I'm either going to explain it away or I'm going to avoid it. And a lot of that goes into very deep, important core issues of our identities.
Absolutely.
We just won't go into the core of who we are, because we're just like, I already know some variation of some information, and I'm just going to stick with it. And
go ahead. I'm sorry.
And the end result is North Chicago. The end result is that you start to see the schools start to get shut down. You start to see businesses start to go away. You start to see food sources going away. You start to see spaces like Abbott and others really just capitalizing, and there's just no questioning. There's no...
Absolutely. And it's crazy because just this morning I was talking to my cousins, and we were talking about, our diets, and we were talking about how so crazy that we grew up with this pyramid of things that, we were absolutely supposed to put in our body. And this, notion that, yes, you're supposed to eat 3 times a day and that's it. And yes, you're supposed to drink milk, and you're supposed to eat this and eat that. When, I said to them, the biggest thing is, I would love to be able to have a nutritionist that shows me as an African-American person, based on my blood type, what I'm supposed to consume in my body versus just listening to, what I knew back in kindergarten with the pyramid, and it goes against everything that we were taught. But I think now what we're looking at is we've opened up our mind to understand that big pharma is big pharma, and it's a business where, they're going to give you a pill for blood pressure. They're going to give you another pill that's going to do something else that the same pill is supposed to do. And because we're not even researching, well, I thought you already said I had a pill that does this. Why would I have to take this? And removing that, we're just saying, oh, well, the doctor said, and it comes to a point where we have to look at these things, and we have to open our mind to reevaluate, because right now things are not looking as if they were. You know, we used to watch our grandparents every single morning have the news on. Like, this is it. The news is on. You know what I'm saying? Like, but now you got people that don't even watch the news because, like you said, it's fake news.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing is that, you know, to explain to the audience, I'm a global citizen. So I'm always going into new countries. I'm always trying to explore indigenous cultures and say, why do they eat what they eat? Why do they live the way they live? Why do they do what they do? And what does that mean for me?
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about how segregated we have been just in the United States from the rest of the world, like right now, it's about to be mango season in Acapulco. And I am so happy about that. And you walking down the street and you see mangoes hanging and they're turning from green to orange and it's about to be time to eat these mangoes. And I always talk about this. And even today, we just went out and the captain of my ship, he just went out and he went and caught some fish. And he has the fish and we're going to eat the fish.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about like that notion that you're supposed to be eating from the earth, and the earth will give you what you're supposed to have.
That part.
We're so removed from that because we haven't been asking questions, right?
Yeah.
So our grandparents used to garden, right?
Mm-hmm.
They used to say, okay, we're gonna put these greens on, we're gonna put this, whatever we're gonna cook it, but it's coming from the earth.
There you go.
And over time, we just stopped asking questions. It was like, well, I'm not going to learn how to cook that particular dish.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm not going to ask why we always have yams. Or I'm
Yeah.
not going to ask what kind of yams they have in Cuba, or what kind of yams they have in Argentina, or what kind of yams they have in any of the 54 countries in Africa. We're just not asking the questions.
Yeah.
We become so dulled. And so then it's like, so what did you have for dinner? The response is now, laters, and Pepsi, right? And that's how food apartheid can just step in and no one's saying anything. No one's doing anything. It's like, oh, well, I just have Popeyes every day, or I just have McDonald's, or I just have Burger King because I'm too busy. And it's like all of that comes from that cognitive dissonance where you are pushing away that new information. And I'm glad to see a lot of Black and brown people reestablishing veganism, vegetarianism, reestablishing healthy relationships with meat and dairy, really just asking the questions, getting back into the sciences and saying, what should I know?
Yeah.
What should I know? And based on what I should know, let me do some research and then I can make better decisions. And that's what this conversation is really about.
Yeah.
It's saying we got to a point where we won't even read.
There you go.
We won't even read. And it's like cognitive dissonance will have you avoiding. I don't want to read that. That's too long. I don't want to read that. That's not making sense to me. I don't want to read that. You have to. You have to get that vocabulary up because you come from smart people.
There you go.
You come from geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
You come from Africa and Asia established some of the most they were so smart. I don't want to get on my soapbox, but I just want to be clear that if you're thinking that you came from slaves, you came from
kings, queens,
brilliance that was enslaved.
Yeah.
I think we have to reframe that. We have to keep reframing that and saying, no. I came from engineers.
Mm-hmm.
I came from people who did research and wrote research.
Yeah.
And were kings and queens,
yeah.
but not kings and queens that had their subjects poor and destitute.
Right.
They were caring for their people, making sure that people were okay, making sure they could farm, making sure they could grow their own food, making sure they could be sustainable. So
yeah. And do you think, like, I know for a fact we don't, we push away the fact that we need to read and we need to research. And I think that, that was the goal of what I was saying in the beginning. Like, look, we have to organize, we have to strategize, we have to have conversations. It comes to the point where even where we're not, like, we have to understand what racism did to us. We have to understand what white supremacy did to us as a people to understand that this isn't how it was supposed to be. It didn't have, it didn't have to be like this. Like right now, we have to understand that, there's certain things that they did that make us think like this and make, there's a reason why Black men are so angry. They didn't just come from their mother angry. It didn't happen like that. Like there's a reason why, we are hard to trust. There's a reason why, we're angry. Some of us are angry and we really don't go back to the root cause of why we're angry. We just simply look at something that may have occurred, some trauma that may have occurred in our life to say that's why we're angry, but it's actually way, way deeper than that. And I think that's something that we're not exploring individually as people.
Yeah, and I wanna actually expand. I don't know if our listeners or our watchers understand that when I say reading, I'm not only talking about a white supremacy or Anglo-Saxon perspective of reading, right? Anything can be read. You could read the soil, you could read the ocean, you could read the stars, you could read spices. We knew how to do that, right? So if someone said, I don't like reading books, you probably don't, because it's probably a book written by a white person and it doesn't really apply to you. But you have to know that before, your people used to read the stars so that they could navigate and they knew how to fish, or they knew how to read the forest so they knew how to go and find leaves for medicine or different things. They knew how to read animals so they could, keep the livestock where they needed to be. And when I say we stopped reading, I'm talking about all of it.
Everything.
I'm not talking about, there's some people out there that don't recognize you used to be able to know what to do with spices just in your hands. And I know you have a grandma or a great grandma or an auntie that's still performing that. You may not be giving her that attention that you need to be, but she can read, she can pick up a spice and she can put it together and she's reading it with her mind. Her palm is knowing what measurements and what spice and which taste is supposed to go. And we're losing that. We're losing that. And that's why I love to be in places like Acapulco. I love to be in Latin America, Asia, other spaces where indigenous people are saying, no, we're going to keep this. And I want to bring that back, that type of reading.
It goes back to kind of like when I think about when we didn't have cell phones, you know what I'm saying? It goes back to like, now think about it. How many numbers do you know by heart? If you do not have your cell phone, because now we're programming ourselves and we're conditioning ourselves to always have this phone right here. And it has all the information that we need. We're not putting ourselves in position to have what we need here versus in an idiot box. You know what I'm saying? Like, and sometimes I've had this conversation many times and I'm like, dang, like, just think about when we didn't have Facebook. Just think about when we didn't have like all this stuff. You're losing communication just off the fact that now you got Facebook and now you got a text message. Like you literally, people don't even sit down and have conversation anymore because you could type it out. That's lazy to me. Like, why are we not talking on the phone no more? Nobody likes to talk on the phone anymore or have like face-to-face dialogue and conversation. We don't sit around the table anymore and say, hey, how was your day? No, a lot of families aren't even eating at the table together anymore. Everybody is going to their respective rooms or, wherever they are to eat. So we've lost a lot of that. And I think that's, like you said, just once we get comfortable with something, we just kind of push things to the side and we go with what's normal at the time. So with that being said, how does cognitive dissonance present itself and what language can we use to protect ourselves from it?
Okay, so there are so many causes, and I want to say that, for those who have watched this show and these episodes, we always talk about language, right? Because if you don't know the words to use to describe what's happening to you, especially as an overexploited person, more than likely you're just going to be quiet. You're just gonna be quiet and you just gonna gulp it. And that's what we've been taught to do. We really need to learn how to not do that. So I want to let you know that sometimes I just write down phrases that I need to say and practice, and I practice them in the mirror to make sure I'm okay saying those things. So the first is forced compliance, right? We might see this in the community where you just told to do something just because I said so, right? And that is very white supremacist, and that comes in through our parenting style, right? Black, I can say in my experience, I've never seen forced compliance in a way that I've seen Black children get forced into compliance. No other culture does it like Black people to Black children. And I think that came from slavery. It was, you're going to get this whip. And that's just, it comes through our style of belief, our style of religion, our style of capitalism, our style of existence. It's like, you're going to listen to me because I said so, right? So you've got this forced compliance where you are told to do something, but it don't make no sense to you. It's not making no sense. And we got to train our children in that. And that really scares me. When you stop when you make children afraid to ask why because you don't know the answer, you're really doing some really dangerous work. You're really stripping away a really important brain activity from them. And I really want to just sit here and talk about that. Forced compliance is bad. Forced compliance is bad. I don't care if you're saying it's because God said, or it's because God does not work like that. God explains. God details why. And even if you look at the relationship that God had with Abraham or Moses or Sarah or they could ask why.
Yeah.
They could always ask why. And God answered. And sometimes God would change its mind.
Mm-hmm.
In cases like Moses. Moses would say, can we do something a little different? And God would listen, right? But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
So you'll start to see that in your community where because I said so becomes a common narrative.
Oh,
And no one feels empowered to voice against it. Or you have people doing things that they don't want to do because they're scared of losing a job or they're scared of losing some sort of resource. And that's where the white supremacy piece really kind of just wraps around, where it's like, okay, you enforce it on your kids and I'm going to enforce it on you because you can't lose this job or else you ain't going to be able to put food on the table or clothes on their back. And so you got all these people in forced compliance.
Yeah.
So if new information comes across to them that would challenge what they're doing, they're going to say no anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I can't because I'm a loser.
Gotcha. That's good.
Another thing is new information, right? If you look at the Black relationship with literacy, we don't engage with new information at a rate that others do. I'm not going to speak about us monolithically. Yes, there are some very literate Black people, and I'm never going to say that Black people as a whole are not engaging in new information, but I'm talking about inside North Chicago.
Gotcha.
It's really difficult for people to say, I'm going to read the latest white paper from Harvard Law. No, they're not going to read that. Or are you reading the newest white paper from a scientist in University of California, Berkeley?
Right.
No, they're just not going to because that's not their culture. That's not their way. And so what happens is then you get that avoidance, right?
Yeah.
So you're not getting the new information and you've got this forced compliance where it's like, well, just do stuff because I told you to, right? That's how you'll start to see it playing out. And then the last is decision making. We have not been given the privilege and the honor of taking the time to make decisions. Yeah. And we have to sit and talk about that. We are so oppressed and overexploited that when it's time to make that decision, you got 2.5 seconds. Sort it out. Or you about to lose this house, or you about to lose this car, you about to do this, or you and we don't have the luxury of time. Many of us who are overexploited, we can't go home and say, well, let me talk to my guru and let me talk to my mentor and then let me talk to my therapist and let me really put all my options on the table and look at my portfolio and say, what should I do for the first 5 years of my life? You know how many people have never experienced a planned pregnancy? Never.
Yeah.
Never experienced just like choosing to have a child, planning for that
Planning
child,
out.
saving for that child. We don't get that luxury. A lot of us don't get that. So you
Right.
have forced compliance, which is everywhere we look. You have new information that's just coming at you in a way that you just can't compute. And then decision making.
Yeah.
Just back to back
Yeah.
to back.
Yeah. And the forced compliance, that right there, I'm about to say this. You know, we look at our young people now and we be like, oh, they are this or they are. But y'all know what? We did it. We did it. And I have always been the first to say, hey, I know I messed up. I know that wasn't right. I know that I should have handled that better when I was a 17-year-old mother. You know what I'm saying? And because I made the decision to say it out loud, number one, accept it, acknowledge it, accept it, and take accountability for it. And I went to my children and I had to apologize for it. A lot of us do not want to allow our children to really express how what we did affected them. And I'm gonna tell y'all right now on this platform, I have sat with tears in my eyes and it hurted like hell. But I allow my kids to sit around and tell me what my mistake did to them. And that's where we have to be, because that gotta go. The forced compliance, like, it's bad. It is bad. Like, really, it is bad, y'all. It's not good. Not giving our children the opportunity to learn new information, not just putting, the latest drug cartel series books in their hands, but like he said, putting the Washington Journal Constitution, the New York, whatever those, you know what I'm saying? See, I don't even know what to call them right now. But you get what I'm saying, like, to put that new information in their hands and allow them to explore those things. I had to make it a point where, I know that I believe what I believe because my parents put me in church. I went to church. I was a church girl. So I only believe because this is what I grew up. I made it a point to say to myself, hey, y'all can explore whatever religion y'all want to explore. Y'all explore what y'all want to explore, and y'all make up your mind. Y'all make y'all decision of what y'all want to do. And I'm not going to ridicule you or jump down your throat about your choice. You have your own choice to make. So the new information is extremely important as well. And decision making, like he said, like Billy just explained, we be like, oh, the lights got to get cut off. What I got to do? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I don't have a car no more. What's going to happen? How am I get to work? And we scrambling around and going crazy. And we don't have the resources to say, oh, well, we have a second car. We're fine. We don't have that.
Yeah.
So it's go ahead.
I don't even think we have the time or the resources to sit down with our children or each other to say, let's just talk about how we make decisions without judgment. Like, what do you do when it's time for you to make a decision? And I'm going to tell you something. When it comes to hormones, when it comes to emotions, when it comes to getting ourselves in check before when we need to really focus logically to make a decision, a lot of us have never just been given that, just given the tools to say, wait a minute, you about to make a decision. What's your emotional state right now? Are you at a 10 or are you at a 2? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Even for purposes. I remember my dad told me one time, and I was like, oh, it made me so angry. But he was like, if you really want to buy something, he said, walk away from it and then go get it the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And it just burned me up because I was like, I want it right now. He was like, yeah, because you in your feelings. You in your feelings. You see it and you gooped up. You know what I mean? You like, oh, I gotta have that. It's gonna make me look this or that. He said, but if you go back and you let your brain think about it, it's gonna determine if you really want it or not.
Mm-hmm.
We make so many emotional decisions So many emotional decisions.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
under forced compliance, and the new information is coming, and we're like, I just want to feel good. And of course, if you're overexploited, you just want to feel good. Of course. So then, can we, and this is what I'm asking as a think tank, can we start to create spaces for families to come together and say, yo, my whole life I was under forced compliance, and I just don't want that for you. I don't know exactly how we're going to move through this, but I know that just hearing because I said so made me so frustrated and so confused. I don't ever want that for you. So
Yeah.
can we just talk about it? You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes. Can we have a safe space, a non-judgment space to say, hey, I didn't like it and I don't want to do it. And I don't ever want to hear it again. You know what I'm saying?
You know,
Like,
it's so funny. Like we're even finding out that like some of the things that we have been trained to do, like force kids to kiss relatives or force kids to sit in relatives' laps or things like that. All this information is starting to cut new information coming out and saying, yo, if your child is saying a negative reaction to giving affection, you need to listen, right? But you can still hear the cognitive dissonance in some families where they're like, no, you gonna kiss your uncle. That's just what we do. You gonna do this just because it's what we do. And you have to think about how dangerous that is, how dangerous forced compliance is, how dangerous like misunderstanding new information is. Like we just really gotta switch it up. I can't hear you.
I told y'all, I don't know about y'all, but these are conversations like these are roundtable conversations. Like we tripping right now. So what does progress look like without cognitive dissonance?
So
Hey,
to me, and
joining.
to me, progress looks like us starting to get comfortable with language that makes us aware when cognitive dissonance is happening. I don't think we'll ever be able to just eradicate it because we don't like to feel discomfort. But I would love to see a time where a young girl, a 15-year-old girl, is saying, "Hey, Ma, this kind of feel like forced compliance. I don't really feel like I'm making my own decision here. Can we take a step back and talk about this?" I would love to see a time where people like me, people who are 40, 50, 60 are saying, this new information is just like too thick for me. And I need some more time, or I need this broken down in different ways so that I can digest it. And I feel empowered to say, I'm not going to give you no decision until you help me understand what's in front of me. When we really start saying, you know, they used to tell you the devil is in the details and you better read that fine print. That was the truth.
Yeah.
That was very truthful. And I think for me, progress is acknowledging that cognitive dissonance exists.
Yeah.
And we start to talk about it in primary school. We start to talk about it in middle school. We talk about it in high school. And then we give children the opportunity to reroute. If they tell you, listen, y'all trying to make me make a life decision for myself by the time I'm 17. You want me to know which college I'm going to, know which career is going to be right for me, and make my whole life plan. I feel like this is a little bit of forced compliance. Can we think about a new way to do this?
Yeah.
We have to give them ways to reroute. And I'm going to be honest, we also have to give ourselves an opportunity to reroute. I did that. Y'all know I went into corporate America and I thought that was the right choice for me, and it wasn't. And I said, I'm moving to Paris. And they were like, Billy done lost his mind. I'm like, you are right. You are right. But you're going to catch me in Paris for the springtime. So
and you know what? It's so funny because we were, and I'm just going to share this with y'all. We were in a training for mental health. For what are we? Mental health first aid. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We went to a training where, you know, I was just I get so excited to have Billy in meetings because he's very big on making sure that they understand that language doesn't suit us, right? When they use certain terms, he's very vocal in saying, why are we doing that? Why are we using that? You know, why did we choose to use that verbiage versus saying this? And I think as Black and brown people, we need to understand that when it doesn't feel good to us to speak up, and it kind of goes back into the forced compliance, because like Billy said, we're so afraid of losing our job, because guess what? If we lose our job, our families are not getting fed, you know, we can't pay our bills. We're so afraid, you know, but I dare you to try it. And I'm not saying I'm not saying, you know, be you know, be disrespectful or anything like that. But I encourage you to try it. When you're not okay with something, to speak up, and it doesn't matter who it is, because we have to get to that place where we will speak up for what we feel is right to us and what feels right to us, instead of just allowing people to do things and continuously do things that don't feel right, you know. So I encourage us as a people to understand that our voice has power. We can see, you know, what we're feeling.
And I mean, and that goes back to I saw Janice Jenkins said, "God is our source. Get out of the box." It takes bravery.
Yeah,
it takes bravery to stand up for yourself.
absolutely.
Right? And I think, you know, we use terms like, you know, this is my temple. We use terms like I should have just followed my gut. We use terms like something told me I should have, right? These are little pebbles or milestones that used to encourage us to say there's something inside you that's a measurement, and it's pointing you in the right direction. And you need to listen to it. You need to listen to it. And it don't matter what we used to supposed to be courageous. It don't matter what your boss say. It don't matter what people around you say. I don't care if they send you to the furnace. That's what we learned about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
There you go.
You don't bow down, right? But when you look at cognitive dissonance, right, sometimes we will just justify, right? Because we're weak. We're frustrated and we're weakened. So we're like, I didn't feel brave enough to make the right decision. But it was okay for me anyway, because I didn't want to do it. No, sit in that moment and say, and you should have a circle around you where you could be honest.
Yeah.
Say, yo, sis, I tried to be brave last week and it did not go the way I thought, and I caved. And then you just sit in that and you forgive yourself, and you say, but the next time, this is what I can do. This is the prayer I can say, or this is the affirmations that I can use. You can find a way to do it better.
Absolutely.
I also want us to stop being ashamed of conflicting beliefs. It is okay if you are the only one in a room that know the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I am so worried for these children because they don't always have, I don't want to use a savior complex, but they don't have someone teaching them that if you don't want to smoke, don't smoke. If you don't want to drink, don't drink.
Yeah.
If you don't want to have sex, if you don't want to wear those shoes, if you don't want to do anything that other people are doing, you can be alone in that and still be strong.
Absolutely.
That can be part of your personality. And you can say, you know, I'm still cool with y'all. I ain't judging you. I ain't mad at what you about to do. I'm just choosing not to do that. And I don't have to feel no shame. I don't have to feel no anxiety. I don't have to feel no embarrassment. And you don't have the power to do that to me.
Yeah.
That's cognitive dissonance. And we have to teach that to our kids to say, if someone in your group is telling you to go left and you start going left and your brain start dinging and your gut start pulsing and your heart start going out your chest, that's your conscience telling you no. Don't go that way. Go the other way. But it's waiting for you to be brave enough.
Yeah.
Hey, my conscience is telling me to go to the right. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah.
It's been one, and I see you in the morning.
You know, I told somebody, I said, when y'all think, and this is how I talk about that to people. I say, think about, everybody been seeing Boys in the Hood, right? So when he was in the car, he said, let me out, though. Let me out. He knew that they were going to do something that was not a part of who he was, even though those were his guys, even though they was cool, even though he probably felt like they were okay in what they wanted to do because, you know, they deserved it. But he still knew that that was not who he was. Hey, let me out. So you got to be able to say, let me out, though. For real. Let me out.
And you have to practice that.
Yeah.
You have to practice standing up for yourself.
Yeah.
Because it feels peer pressure is real.
Yes,
and
it is.
Peer pressure is used on us, especially as Black and brown people, especially as people who are exploited. Just do it because I told you to. You don't want to look dumb, do you? You want to be cool, don't you? You want to be liked, don't you? And we do. We want to be liked. We want to be loved. We want to be included, right? But there's something else that I wanted to bring out too. A part of cognitive dissonance is when you start only seeking out information that confirms what you currently believe. Yes. And I want us to stop that.
Yeah.
There is an entire planet, and we live in one very small part of it. And I know in our brains, we think that we plopped out of our mom and we just had the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know how we got that perception, but we have that perception. But I just want to encourage the young people, older people. It's so fun to learn new things. Y'all, I'm out here scuba diving. I swam with a whole whale. I swam with a whole whale. And when I tell y'all, listen, I was praying the whole time. I was like,
I'm just a boy from North Chicago. We ain't supposed to be swimming with no whales.
But at the same time, that was the creator saying, look what I have made for you.
Yes.
Not anybody else, for you.
Yeah.
And I think once we start to engage with information, good information. I'm not saying go out there and mess with no mess.
Right.
I want to be clear. I'm not saying go out there and get involved in something that's harmful to you. But learn new things that feel good. Your body has a response when you learn something new that's good for you. Your brain will start to just feel good. That oxygen gets in. You say, wow, that's what happened in Haiti. Wow, that's what's happening in Bosnia. Wow, that's what they eat in Kashmir. Oh, that's what's happening in Palestine. And you start to feel good.
Yeah.
You start to feel good. So I just
open your mind to so many different things. And like I said, I love where I'm from, right? But there is a whole world. There is a whole global world out here of things that we have no clue about. And like I've said before, that was one thing that I absolutely loved about you, Billy, is that when you started talking and you started talking about you had been to this tribe and this place, and I'm like, Lord, I want to be like him when I grow up. Like, yeah. And I need for our children to understand that it's more to just where you're from. It's so much more out there that you could see, that you could explore, that you can learn, and it'll open your mind up to receive so much more than just what you're comfortable in.
Especially, and I really want to say, I wouldn't be saying this if we were prospering. Right. I wouldn't be saying this if we were flourishing. I wouldn't be saying this if we weren't being hunted.
Yeah.
It is dangerous for us right now.
It is.
We are being preyed upon in so many different ways. And it's time for us to really start to build up that awareness. Yeah. Start to you said earlier, people talking about I'm woke. It's not about being woke or not being woke. It's about saying something don't feel right to me. Something don't feel right to me inside. Yeah. And I want to feel right, but I also don't want to pretend, because there's some people who will pretend that everything is all right when everything is not, and that's cognitive dissonance. So, yeah.
You know what? I gotta thank you for this topic, Billy. I really do, because it brought so many things to me. Y'all, like I've been like learning meditation methods, and I've been really like digging deep into some other things. And I was telling Maxi when I got on, I was like, I listen, I'm trying to get my energy back right. Going through the pandemic and everything that's going on in the world and things like that, it's easy to get disengaged, and your energy to be depleted and things like that. So we have to always be aware of what we're feeling on the inside to know, yeah, I don't like the way that feels. So there's something that I can do about it, and just being willing to step out of your own shell and just say, I'm going to do something about it. So thank you for this, bro. I really, really love this segment. It is absolutely amazing. The conversation that we have, we do this on a regular, and I called North Chicagoans out. I love y'all, but y'all need to, y'all need to get with Billy, and y'all really need to get behind him so that when it's time for him to come home, we can have these conversations, because I'm gonna come and I'm gonna bust up in the place too. I want to come and sit down at the round table and talk too. So please, y'all just, join the conversation. We want to see, there's nothing more that I would love to, be somewhere else and be able to come back to my hometown and see it thriving, flourishing, and just see things that I never would have ever imagined in my hometown. I want to see it prosper. I want to see the people prosper. Billy right now, this is my Mama J. This is my co-pastor here, Billy. She said, where's Billy at now? Billy is in Acapulco right now, Mama J. He's learning diving. He's becoming a dive master.
I am. Yes, ma'am. I am.
Yes. So again, bro, I appreciate you. Thank you, Laura, for joining us. Thank you, Mama J, for joining us. I appreciate you. If you catch the replay, please make sure that you go ahead and you share this out so that other people can get this information. Like my pastor always say, don't be a hoarder. Don't keep the information for yourself. Go ahead and pass it to someone else so that they can enjoy the conversation as well. We will be back not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after that. We are every other Wednesday, y'all. So we will be back here on this same platform, still having this talk with the North Chicago think tank. So I do appreciate you guys so much for joining us. Billy, did you want to give any last remarks?
Yes, if you can, it would mean so much if you just tell your friends and family, you know what, there's something happening. The North Chicago think tank is really trying to inspire us to think. The North Chicago think tank is really trying to empower us to think, to become literate, and to become powerful in our own rights. And I think that's the message that I would like people to hear when they think about the North Chicago think tank. Again, we don't speak for the people of North Chicago. We just want to make space for the people of North Chicago to explore and to express themselves and to say what they want. Yeah. And we can build our community together.
Absolutely. And you guys, if you are not in North Chicago, you have the ability to do this same thing and make sure that your community is thriving, flourishing, and prospering as well by using these same topics and having these same conversations regarding your own community. It is available for us everywhere that we are. We have the ability to make this happen. So I love you guys. Thank you again for joining us. Again, this is Radical Talk with the North Chicago Think Tank. I am your girl, Coach L. Make sure that you go follow the North Chicago Think Tank on social media, Facebook and Instagram platforms, and also Radical Radio, which is this platform. We love you guys. Have a good night.
Bye.
Hey, dreamers. My name is Maxi, owner of Elnor Maxwell. We're a company that specializes in show production, virtual assistants, and more. Recently, I have published 2 books. My first book, All My Broken Crayons Still Color, is a daily affirmation book and a journal. My second book, Love You More, Grieving Isn't Easy and Healing Hurts, is a book about the 5 stages of grief and how you can start your process of healing from grief. Both of my books are now available on Amazon. So, let's be motivated, let's be encouraged, let's start the process of healing, and let's continue to glow through whatever it is we're going through.